This is Fantasy Baseball Today from CBSSports.com.
Welcome to an exclusive presentation of Fantasy Baseball Today for CBS Local Sports. Adam Azer here with Al Melchior and Scott White. These guys write our columns telling you who to start and sit. You can check those out on the website, fantasynews.cbssports.com. Here's a little sneak peek. Al's got the pitchers, Scott's got the hitters, and Al's going to tell you some pitchers that you don't have to start this week, but you certainly could. Matt Garza has 2 starts against the Cardinals and at Pittsburgh, and Brandon Morrow has 2 starts at Minnesota and at Cleveland. Let's start with Garza.
All right, yeah, and I like Garza as a start. And as you said, these are all, the pitchers we're going to talk about are all guys that you could start. They're worth considering. Some are more kind of sketchy than others. I don't consider Garza one of the sketchy starters, even though he's had sort of a checkered history the last couple of years in terms of performance and health. Looks great so far this year. And the Cardinals are sort of a tough matchup, but I really like him pitching against the Pirates in his second start. I think he's a safe start that you can put in a 12-team mixed league, for example.
So would you say the same thing about Brandon Morrow, or is that a little bit deeper we're talking?
Just a little bit deeper. I think he, too, is safe in a 12-team mixed league. It's just
safe? Is that the word you want to use?
Yeah, I mean, sure, because I would feel pretty comfortable doing it. Not safe in the sense that and this is why I have him ranked a little bit lower than Garza, that I'm less confident in terms of Morrow's ability to avoid a meltdown, because we've seen a lot of inconsistency from him. But again, like Garza, he's looked very good so far. Morrow's velocity is up, higher than it's been in a while. So it could be a big payoff. I'd be willing to take that gamble.
So let's talk to Scott White now about some hitters that he could recommend for you. And we'll start with Kyle Seager, who has 4 games at Texas and 3 at Miami.
Yeah, and it's one of the better matchups. Actually, the Mariners, I think, have the best matchups of any team in baseball this week. And particularly in Seager's case, those 4 games at Texas, as a guy who's spent his whole career in the AL West, he's played there a lot, is a career .374 hitter with an 1102 OPS there. Now, he's already highly owned. He's a guy people drafted as a starter, but there's enough people overreacting at these early stages of the season to hitter performances when we really just don't have much to go on yet. Seager's off to a terrible start. They've been benching him. I say he turns it around this week. All
right, another guy that could turn things around. And the Royals lineup hasn't really been clicking, but good matchups this week. They've had some tough matchups so far. And Norichika Aoki is a guy that you could start this week.
Yeah, really good matchups. At Houston for 3 and then against the Twins for 3. Those are probably the worst 2 pitching staffs in baseball. And Aoki's actually been hitting well recently. 5 for his last 10 with 2 doubles, 2 triples, and a guy who can get extra base hits, can get on base, can steal some bases. When he's going well, he's worth starting in all formats, and I think those kinds of matchups are going to ensure that he keeps going well.
And now, who to sit in Fantasy Week 3? Let's go back to Al Melchior with some pitchers here. Robbie Erlin. I wanted to start him. I'm so excited, but I should cool it out.
You should, definitely pump the brakes a little bit on Erlin. Not a terrible start, but I don't like him as much as, say, Morrow or Garza this week. We still don't know exactly what to expect from Erlin, and I feel like there are some owners that might look at the matchups with Erlin at home, great ballpark, Petco, or at least, I shouldn't say it's not as good as it used to be, but still good park versus the Rockies and Giants. But I still feel like there's that uncertainty factor there with Erlin, and not really the highest of upside. So, whereas with Morrow, I feel like I'm willing to take a gamble because of what we have seen from him. Erlin, I don't see the same sort of payoff.
All those gestures and gyrations and sound effects I made about Erlin, do it for Jesse Chavez too. I picked him up. He was so good. He's been good through 2 starts, but pump the brakes.
Yeah, and even more so a case of just the unknown. We know Chavez is a reliever. He's been probably decent at best, and sometimes not even really that decent as a reliever. Better as a starter, and great beginning to the year for Chavez. And he too has really good matchups, particularly the Astros. You get the Angels too in Anaheim, which isn't too bad, but Astros is always a good matchup. To me, Chavez is somebody you can only really pick up and start if you've really got somebody that you were going to get rid of anyway. And you're just going to take a gamble. Maybe you're a little late to the waiver wire. Yeah. That's a situation where I see you say Chavez. Otherwise, there's lots of much better and more proven options.
Back to Scott White with hitter advice. Hitters to sit. Scott, you got 2. Emilio Bonifacio has been one of the best hitters in baseball, and Casey McGee. Let's start with Emilio Bonifacio.
Oh, they've both been among the best hitters in baseball, but I think in both cases we're kind of nearing the point where we're kind of if we're starting them now, we're jumping on board a little late. Their performance is going to have to start tailing off now, just because it's been going on at a ridiculous rate for too long. And in Bonifacio's case specifically, the Cubs play only 5 games this week. They're the only team playing so few games, and their matchups in those 5 games include Tanaka, Pineda, Cingrani, Homer Bailey. They're not good. Second base being as deep as it is, with guys like Dozier, Rendon. I mean, just so many starters that you could go with instead. I think it's worth sitting him despite how hot he's been.
Now, Casey McGee and the Marlins have 6 games, but tough matchups.
Yeah, they do have pretty tough matchups. Not quite as bad as the Cubs. They do get 6 games this week, but Washington and Seattle are who they're facing. And McGee is really partially about the ability. I do trust Bonifacio to be a solid player this year. McGee, I'm not so sure. He's had his ups and downs in the big leagues, and it's been more downs than ups. So combined with the fact that, okay, this has just been going on too long to be true, and they're bad matchups, and I don't really trust him anyway, I think it's time to steer clear of him if you can find help at third base.
Well done. Scott White, Al Melchior. Much more from them, much more advice, fantasynews.cbssports.com. And watch our live show every Monday through Friday, noon Eastern Time, Fantasy Baseball Today. This has been an exclusive presentation of Fantasy Baseball Today for CBS Local Sports. Good luck in Week 3.